If you've been standing in the pet food aisle staring at grain-free labels, wondering if you're a bad cat parent for buying the regular stuff, I've got good news for you. Most cats actually do better on grain-inclusive food, and you've probably been spending extra money for no reason. I'm Stephen Whitlow, and I've spent over 20 years working with animals. Let me clear up the confusion. You're listening to the Pet Parent Podcast. Quick heads up before we dive in. Everything you're about to hear, all the research, the data, the advice, that's written and fact-checked by real humans with real expertise. The voice you're hearing, that's AI generated. We're keeping things transparent around here. If you've been listening for a while, thank you, seriously. And if this is your first episode, hey, you picked a good one to start with. We release new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you'll never run out of stuff to learn. Now, let's talk about grain-free versus grain-inclusive cat food, because this one trips people up all the time. If your cat is healthy and doesn't have diagnosed allergies, grain-inclusive food is usually the better choice. That said, the grain-free versus grain-inclusive cat food debate isn't as simple as picking a winner. It depends entirely on your individual cat's needs, age, and health status. While my specialty is dogs, I've seen plenty of cat owners get tangled up in the same nutrition confusion. Here's what you need to know about grains in cat food, what the science actually says, and how to figure out which option makes sense for your feline friend. We'll cover the nutritional differences, digestive considerations, cost factors, and what veterinarians are recommending in 2026. Let me give you a quick overview of how these two types of food compare. Grain-free cat food typically has higher meat content, usually around 40 to 50%, and uses peas, lentils, and potatoes as fillers. It's best for cats with diagnosed grain allergies or specific medical conditions, but it comes at premium pricing, usually 30 to 50% more expensive per pound. Grain-inclusive food has moderate meat content, typically 30 to 40%, and uses rice, oats, and barley as carbohydrate sources. It's best for healthy adult cats, kittens, seniors without food sensitivities, and really most cats in general. It's more budget-friendly and aligns with what veterinarians are recommending in 2026. Now let's talk about nutritional profile and protein content. The biggest difference between grain-free versus grain-inclusive cat food comes down to what manufacturers use as filler ingredients. Cats are obligate carnivores, meaning they need animal protein to survive. But even the best cat foods include some non-meat ingredients to provide calories, fiber, and certain nutrients. Grain-free formulas typically replace grains with legumes like peas, chickpeas, and lentils, and starchy vegetables like potatoes and sweet potatoes. You'll see ingredient panels listing things like pea protein, potato starch, or tapioca. The trade-off is that grain-free foods often have higher protein percentages on the label, sometimes reaching 40 to 50% crude protein. Sounds great, right? Here's the catch. Not all that protein comes from meat. Pea protein and other plant proteins count toward the total protein percentage, but cats can't utilize plant proteins as efficiently as animal proteins. Your cat needs taurine, arachidonic acid, and other nutrients that only come from animal sources. A grain-free food with 45% protein might actually deliver less usable nutrition than a grain-inclusive food with 38% protein, if more of that 38% comes from chicken, fish, or turkey. Grain-inclusive formulas use ingredients like brown rice, oats, barley, or whole grain wheat. These provide carbohydrates and calories without pretending to be protein sources. The result is often a more straightforward ingredient panel, where the meat content is clearly defined. For most healthy cats, whether they're kittens, adults, or seniors, this approach aligns better with what veterinary nutritionists recommend. Moving on to digestive health and food sensitivities. I've seen this confusion 100 times with dog owners, and it's the same story with cats. People assume grains are hard to digest or cause allergies. The reality is more nuanced. True grain allergies in cats are extremely rare. According to veterinary dermatology research, the most common food allergens for cats are animal proteins. Chicken, beef, and fish top the list. When cats do have food sensitivities, they're reacting to the protein source, not the rice or oats in their kibble. Grain allergies account for less than 5% of diagnosed food sensitivities in felines. That said, some cats do have genuine grain intolerances. You might notice symptoms like chronic diarrhea, vomiting after meals, itchy skin, or excessive grooming in specific areas. If your vet has diagnosed a grain sensitivity through an elimination diet trial, which is the gold standard for identifying food allergies, then grain-free food makes complete sense. For cats without sensitivities, grains actually support digestive health. Whole grains provide soluble and insoluble fiber, which helps regulate bowel movements and supports the beneficial bacteria in your cat's gut. Brown rice and oats are gentle on the stomach and rarely cause digestive upset in healthy cats. The flip side? Some grain-free foods use legumes that can cause gas and softer stools in cats who aren't used to them. If you're switching from grain-inclusive to grain-free, do it gradually over 7 to 10 days. Let's talk money, because this matters when you're feeding a cat for 15 to 20 years. Grain-free cat food costs significantly more, typically 30 to 50% more per pound than comparable grain-inclusive options. A 12-pound bag of mid-range grain-inclusive dry food might run you around $30 to $40, while a similar quality grain-free formula could easily hit $50 to $60 for the same amount. Why the premium? Marketing plays a role. Grain-free sounds fancy. But there are real production factors, too. Higher meat content costs more, and alternative ingredients like pea protein and potato starch have become expensive as demand has increased. Grain-free formulas also tend to come from boutique or premium brands that price their products higher across the board. Here's what I tell people. If your cat needs grain-free food for medical reasons, the cost is what it is. You do what's necessary. But if you're choosing grain-free because it seems healthier or more natural, you're probably spending extra money for no real benefit to your cat. For most households, grain-inclusive food offers better value. You can find quality grain-inclusive formulas with high meat content, named protein sources like chicken rather than poultry meal, and AAFCO certification for much less money. Put those savings toward better vet care, dental treats, or a nicer cat tree, things that actually improve your cat's quality of life. If you're feeding multiple cats, the cost difference adds up fast. A household with 3 cats could easily spend an extra $500 to $700 per year on grain-free food with no measurable health improvement. Now let's get into veterinary recommendations and health research. The grain-free versus grain-inclusive cat food conversation changed significantly around 2018 to 2019 when the FDA started investigating a potential link between grain-free diets and dilated cardiomyopathy, or DCM, in dogs. While the research focused primarily on canine cases, it raised questions about grain-free formulations for cats, too. As of 2026, the scientific consensus is this. Grain-free diets aren't inherently dangerous, but they're not automatically better either. The FDA's investigation found that certain grain-free formulas, particularly those heavy in legumes and light on traditional meat sources, might interfere with taurine absorption in some animals. Cats are even more dependent on dietary taurine than dogs, making this a real concern. Most veterinary nutritionists now recommend grain-inclusive diets for healthy cats unless there's a specific medical reason to avoid grains. The American Association of Feline Practitioners and veterinary schools across the country have shifted their guidance to emphasize named animal proteins, AAFCO certification, and companies with feeding trial data, not whether the food contains grains. When you're choosing cat food, look for these markers of quality. an AAFCO statement confirming the food is complete and balanced for your cat's life stage, whether that's kitten, adult, or senior, named protein sources in the first 3 to 5 ingredients, chicken, turkey, salmon, not just meat or poultry, manufacturer transparency about where ingredients are sourced and how formulas are tested, and feeding trial data rather than just formulation to meet nutritional profiles. So who should choose grain-free cat food? Grain-free makes sense if your cat has a diagnosed grain allergy or sensitivity confirmed by your veterinarian through an elimination diet. This is the only medically sound reason to avoid grains entirely. Some cats with chronic inflammatory bowel disease or other digestive conditions do better on grain-free diets, but this should be determined by your vet, not guesswork. If your cat has ongoing vomiting, diarrhea, or poor coat quality despite eating a quality grain-inclusive food, it's worth discussing grain-free options with your veterinarian. Cats with diabetes sometimes benefit from lower carbohydrate diets, and some grain-free formulas fit that profile. But again, this is a medical decision to make with professional guidance, not a blanket recommendation. And who should choose grain-inclusive cat food? If your cat is healthy, whether they're a kitten, adult, or senior, grain-inclusive food is the safer, more economical choice. This applies to the vast majority of cats. Grain-inclusive diets are particularly good for multi-cat households, where you're feeding several cats with different preferences and needs. The lower cost and wider availability make them practical for everyday feeding. Senior cats often do well on grain-inclusive formulas because whole grains provide gentle fiber that supports aging digestive systems. If your older cat has slowed down and put on a bit of weight, the fiber in grain-inclusive food can help them feel full without overloading on calories. Kittens benefit from the balanced nutrition in grain-inclusive foods, which typically have more consistent nutrient profiles and less reliance on newer ingredients like pea protein. Growing cats need reliable nutrition without experimentation. Let me answer some common questions people have about this topic. Is grain-free cat food better for cats with allergies? Grain-free cat food is only better if your cat specifically has a grain allergy, which is quite rare. True food allergies in cats are most commonly caused by animal proteins, like chicken, beef, or fish, not grains. If your cat shows allergy symptoms such as itchy skin, chronic ear infections, or digestive upset, work with your veterinarian to conduct a proper elimination diet trial, rather than assuming grains are the problem. Most cats with suspected grain allergies actually have sensitivities to specific proteins or environmental allergens unrelated to their food. Do cats need grains in their diet to be healthy? Cats don't nutritionally require grains because they're obligate carnivores who get essential nutrients from animal proteins and fats. But grains aren't harmful to healthy cats and can provide beneficial fiber, vitamins, and digestible energy. Whole grains like brown rice, oats, and barley support digestive health and help regulate blood sugar without causing problems for most cats. The focus should be on whether the food provides complete nutrition with high-quality animal proteins. Whether that includes grains or not is secondary for cats without grain sensitivities. Can I mix grain-free and grain-inclusive cat food together? You can mix grain-free and grain-inclusive cat food together without causing harm, though it doesn't provide any particular nutritional advantage for healthy cats and may just increase your overall feeding costs. If you're transitioning between foods, mixing them gradually over 7 to 10 days helps prevent digestive upset. Start with 75% old food and 25% new food, then gradually shift the ratio until you've fully transitioned. Some cat owners mix wet and dry foods for variety, which is fine. But mixing grain-free with grain-inclusive dry foods simply gives you a blended formulation that doesn't address any specific health need. Here's the bottom line. The grain-free versus grain-inclusive cat food decision isn't about picking the winning formula. It's about matching food to your individual cat's needs. For most healthy cats at any life stage, grain-inclusive food delivers solid nutrition at a better price point, with decades of research supporting its safety and effectiveness. Choose grain-free if your vet has diagnosed a grain sensitivity or a specific medical condition that requires it. Otherwise, focus on what really matters: high-quality animal proteins, AAFCO certification, and a manufacturer you trust. Your cat doesn't care about marketing trends. They care about feeling good and enjoying their meals. That wraps up this episode of the Pet Parent Podcast. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. New episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you'll always have something new to chew on. If you found this episode helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star rating and write a quick review. It sounds small, but it genuinely helps other people find the show when they're searching for solid pet advice. And hey, hit that subscribe or follow button so you get a notification the second a new episode goes live. Talk to you soon.